The first question is, why are we doing what we're doing? What are the reasons for our UN bid, our UN initiative? Second question I'll attempt to pose and answer is, how are we going to do it? What are the main thinking, the procedures that we might pursue? The third question I'll pose is, what would be the effects, the impact at the legal, political, and strategic level out of that bid or that move? And the last question, and in my opinion the most difficult, is the day after. What happens? I'll maybe start with answering that: nothing. I'll go back to the first question. Why? Why are we doing this? And the answer is simple, but I'll explain it. Because we have no other option. It's the only option that is available upon us, and I mean by us the Palestinians, at the moment. Look at the situation. Look at all the possibilities and the scenarios. You will see that this is the least costly scenario and the most beneficial scenario. Other scenarios would include confrontations. Other scenarios would include perpetual negotiations, endless, as we have had for the last 20 years. Other scenarios would include a void, a vacuum that could be filled with 100 alternative things. As you may know, for the last 20 years, we have been involved in successive peace processes, successive rounds of negotiations. It has led absolutely nowhere except the sustainability of the status quo minus. And I mean by minus, it's not only a static status quo, it's a dynamic status quo whereby occupation, colonization is deepening or being deepened by the day during these 20 years of supposedly a peace process that was to lead to the end of occupation and the dismantling of at least most of settlements. Now, of very particular relevance to the discussion is the last 2 years. In the last 2 years, we had three main events. The first is the release of the Palestinian Authority plan, state building plan, what is now known in some quarters as the Fayyad plan. Fayyad is the Palestinian Prime Minister, Salam Fayyad. In that document, the government released its program for the 2 years, that was August 2008. In it, it was saying this document and this plan and this program is about the preparation of the Palestinian institutions for statehood. And we will forge a partnership with the international community to prepare ourselves for the state to come. The one condition we have is that this preparation process has a time limit. And the time limit is 2 years. It started in August 2008. It ends 2009. Sorry, it ends in September 2011, this month. That program has received almost an international consensus, support by America, by Europe, by the international community at large. Billions of dollars were invested in that contract. There was a contract between us and the international community. The part of the contract that has to do with us, the Palestinians, have been delivered or has been delivered at a rate of 100%, according not to me, but to the World Bank, to the IMF, to the United Nations itself, and to several international institutions. They have been saying over the last few months that exactly what Palestinians have done in the last 2 years is preparing themselves for the state. They are ready not only at the level of a low-income country, but at the level of a middle-income country, a very well-established middle-income country. They are ready to assume statehood immediately. But the other side of the bargain was that the international community, having agreed on the timetable, that by September 2012, by hook or crook, sorry for the British accent, there will be a Palestinian state. The second event was the Obama direct talks, which was launched in September 2010, last year. I happened to be the spokesperson for the Palestinian delegation to Washington at the time. And in that round of talks, President Obama and the US administration established that that round of talks has a time limit of 1 year. and it should end by September 2011, and it must lead to a Palestinian state. We engaged, we accepted, we went to the negotiations, knowing that in September, again by hook or crook, there will be a state. This is not a log of activities, an account of shame and blame and what happened in that last attempt by the US administration. But I was there, I've read the minutes, and I know that all what we heard from the Israeli representatives, from the Israeli Prime Minister, was matters of security. We didn't hear nothing else. 19 hours exactly of direct talks with Mr. Netanyahu. He spoke of only two things: security and the Jewish state, our recognition of the Jewish state. Nothing else. He did not want to hear anything. We even prepared for him and for his colleagues maps, proposals, very reasonable, by the way. He and his advisors refused to take them, refused to even being handed to them, under the justification that they don't have a mandate by the Israeli people to take from us any proposals. Nonetheless, there was a timetable, a time limit, a finish line, a goal post. The goal post of that US-sponsored peace process was September 2011. The third, Mr. Obama himself, the US president, stood in the UN General Assembly last year in front of the world, and the leaders of the world, and said the following: that by next year comes the next General Assembly, which will convene in 2 weeks' time, less than 2 weeks' time, 10 days' time. Comes the next General Assembly. He, the US president, hopes that there will be a new state in this hall, in this General Assembly. And that state, he called it Palestine. Now, we Palestinians took all this seriously, not wasting our time. And when we agree on a contract, there is a contractual relationship here. If we deliver, we expect our partners to deliver. So we believe that this moment is a moment when we turn all these time limits, timetables, promises, when we turn the political capital we have worldwide into something concrete. Does that mean that occupation will end? Absolutely not. But it means that this is a way of cashing our political capital in the most legal manner there is in the international community, that is the United Nations. This is the main rationale behind our thinking, at least from a perspective of sequential events and actions.